When I first came to Uganda in 1997, I came as a delegate for Red Cross. There was a huge amount of poverty in the community, which was related to a lot of the subsistence farmers here in Badaka district. There aren't for jobs. All you have is what you have on your land. People were using natural springs which were often contaminated. Education often resulted in young people sitting under a mango tree being taught or not being taught at all. With the lack of education, it resulted in people not having the skills, experience or knowledge to actually utilise the land. They were struggling, they just needed a different approach. Quite often, young people aren't in employment, which actually results in them not feeling valued themselves. So there's obviously a huge need here in Uganda to support those young people.
Shared knowledge, we share our skills together.
Yeah. After being a delegate, you see more charities and more NGOs here operating. And it was really interesting because more money was being spent than ever before, but the poverty was increasing. For me, talking to the communities, things weren't getting better, and it made me really question the approach people were taking. And I just challenged myself and said, well, you've got the skills, you've got the experience, you've got the knowledge. Is there a different way?
And last week, Chairman, when we harvest those chilies,
I did a Master's in Entrepreneurial Leadership. Entrepreneurs find creative ways of making more money in terms of business. There's other people, and I put myself in the category of a social entrepreneur, who uses the same skills, but instead of looking at a personal gain, you're looking actually about how you can make good for people. And that means if you see a problem, you don't just accept that problem.
a little bit of water. Okay.
It's very hard to describe poverty. It's not as simple as just saying, here's some money, here's some food. Giving aid isn't the idea. It is a very short-term fix, and it has to lead to something. Communities don't necessarily want to be given everything. They want to be given an understanding about how to do things differently, but then they want to get on and make the difference themselves. If charities are operating really as they should be, their plan should be making themselves redundant. So for me, it was important to ensure the communities were in that position that they could have ownership of the work they were doing, and all the money and the projects went to that community. We wanted to have a number of projects which were connected and working together.
So you'd look over that water.
You were looking over there.
So when we're looking at education, it's important that the community and the young people especially have the skills which are appropriate for their environment. And that meant that academic education was important, but also vocational training. having a skill like agriculture, tailoring, the key things which would actually support a young person in the community and their future. So for us it was a case of establishing the highest quality school we possibly could. We were trying to use a method where the community were really as involved as possible through local builders and local teams to construct our first particular school. It's not like in the UK when you go to a shop to get bricks. You have to get the community to make the bricks. Straight away the community realised that we weren't just a charity that told people what to do, but we were actually working together step by step. Ensuring there is clean drinking water, there is sanitation, there are toilets, there is a kitchen facility, and in making sure that everything was together, which provides the perfect setting for education.
In Uganda, he was using the route of Tanzania. He was using the southern route. The southern route of which country? Uganda. Very good.
Being a teacher, I didn't have anywhere to work. I was a chapati vendor, on sell chapati on the street. But once I took a step and applied here, I was confirmed. I was happy. The problem with some of the schools in Uganda, one, the families are not doing well financially. Therefore, they find a problem of paying school fees and also getting some lunch, breakfast. You find a child is going to school, taking a whole day without eating anything. Therefore, that challenge makes a child to drop out of school. For us here, we always offer breakfast and lunch for our pupils. It is very important for their learning. Our child will always be happy the whole day. And here, we have water within. We have a good water.
So we've now constructed 9 classrooms at each school. We've got an accommodation building at each school. We have shower rooms, we have kitchens, we have a nursery building, and we have a hall that they can be used for community events. So the business model we got on the school, as a charity, we would put in the capital costs. What we then do is ask for community to make a contribution, and to make the model sustainable, they then put that contribution in, and then that allows us to then sponsor the orphans who don't have the resources. That means that that money that comes in funds the teachers' salaries and ensures that all the children get food. Compared to other schools where they're not getting any food at all. When we set up the tailoring project, it was very clear that we were going to give young people who weren't in education, who weren't in employment, the skills that allowed them to set up their own business and be able to have a skill that they can then create an income from. But also it meant that some of the young people at the school could almost get a taste of that tailoring skill, and if they wanted to when they finished primary school, if they couldn't afford to go on to a secondary school, at least they could then use that skill and develop themselves further with tailoring.
When I was growing up, my family struggled for money. If Bumba was not there, I could not go for my training course.
But the model we use is very much about a multiplication and a peer-to-peer education model. We've found that actually people learn from other people. It's not just about educating the people who are involved in the project. It's about getting that knowledge wider into the community to make an increased impact. So in every single project we're working on, we are giving young people the skills that they can then go and educate other young people. In the district that we're working in, about 94% of the population will be subsistence farmers or rely on the agriculture. A lot of the subsistence farmers in the area are basically following a method that they've always used and what has been handed down from one person to another, which in some circumstances isn't really very good. So you would often see people planting at the wrong times and then hoping they're going to come back in 3 months' time and everything will be there and there'll be a good crop. That doesn't happen. The initial idea we had was to have a small little garden within a school which allowed the young people to learn some agricultural training. So we decided to develop our demonstration garden, which provides examples of how you use the irrigation, how you use different crop rotation, how you use fertiliser, and a different way of thinking in terms of agriculture. Once that was established, we established our apprentice programme. And the apprentice programme saw some young people coming in, learning some skills, and then starting to train other people and understand that actually agriculture could be an opportunity for them to have a work, get a career, and almost have their own projects.
I came to Bumba in 2013. One of my parents had died when I was still young, and I'm only having my mother, who cannot be able to acquire for me skills of education. Bumba was giving sponsorship to some students which were not able to acquire studies. If it wasn't for Bumba, I couldn't be where I am right now. In future, I want to be a doctor, which will help me to have a better life.
I've been learning new ways of farming, and I've taken back to my family what I've learned. Now my family is having 50% more income. They are proud of me. I feel happy and confident.
Webale n'okusinziira ku mbeera gye nabaira wano ku Bumba, ebbanga ery'emaliro bingine binali njegere, kale nga n'okutwala omulamwa guno eri abakulembera banange okwigombolola bona beege bayiza twege.
Alan and Stella, as our apprentices on site here, are now not only developing the demonstration garden, but they're now teaching the community, they're teaching other young people.
It helps us to walk without to step in the garden. Hence, avoiding hardening the garden or compacting the soil.
When you see other people being taught by them, you see their eyes light up. They suddenly realise there's a different way of operating their crops. They can increase their productivity and they've got a different knowledge. And you can already see how they're respected in the community. People now see them as experts.
I make the dresses for community and I train people. Yeah, it makes me happy to own my workshop because I'm free. I train people because I want them to be like me.
Nga ntole ebirowoozo yano ku isomero Bumba Foundation. Tubenga tulina engeri gye tukyusamu embeera yaife y'emukyalo eyo mu byokulima n'ebyenfuna.
We train and empower communities to appreciate the value of education, the value of agriculture, and the value of working together, which is very, 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 very good ingredients in sustainable development. It's quite a long dream, but we are already achieving it.
If we think back to 10 years ago, did we ever dream we would get that far? When we started, if you said that the aim was to reduce poverty, people would almost laugh and say, well, that's a dream for a lot of people. But what we've done is we is we've created something which is demonstrated how you can reduce poverty, and that knowledge is spreading throughout the district. If I'm being absolutely honest, what we're trying to do is to make ourselves redundant. If we are true to our core values of a charity, and if we're very honest about what we're trying to do, if we are able to put an education program in place which reduces poverty and it's sustainable for the community going forward, we've done our job. Everybody has a choice about where they take their life or their career. The skills I have in entrepreneurial leadership could have been, I could use them in a business and looking at a much more personal financial gain. When people question me and they, as friends, question my sanity about giving up your holidays and being here and the amount of personal funding you give to the charity, and the question comes back, well, why are you doing it? And I suppose the question back to somebody is, why don't you? The world can only get better if people help each other. And I think for my personal philosophy is very much about, if you've got something, why don't you share it to help the greater good? If a project's right and the way people are learning is right, that ripple effect could go on forever.